The famous question on the Pesach Seder: how much wine do I have to drink? How much matzah do I have to eat? How much maror? How much karpas? How much lettuce do I have to eat? So let's go through the sugya today. And again, the style of this shiur is we're going to go see the Gemarot, the Rishonim, the Achronim, and try to get halacha l'maaseh based on Rabbi Chaim. So there is a Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, Daf Kuftet Amud Aleph, and it continues till Kuftet Amud Bet. It's a very complicated Gemara. The Gemara is all about math and numbers, but I'm going to read just the summary of it, just the conclusion of the Gemara. Amar Rav Chisda, or some say Rav Chasda, he says, Revi'it shel Torah. We know there are measurements in the Torah. There's a Revi'it, there is a log, there are a betzah, a kezayit. All of these measurements, Rav Chisda, if you know one of them, they're all multiplication and they're all multiples of one another. There's a system in place that once you determine the egg size, for example, you're able to determine everything else. Okay? So Rav Chisda tells us the Revi'it of the Torah is what? Etzba'ayim, al etzba'ayim, berom etzba'ayim, v'chatzi etzba, v'chomesh etzba. Okay? The Revi'it, when the Torah says the word Revi'it, how do you measure it? He says it is 2 fingers, etzba'ayim is 2 thumbs. So imagine I have a cup, it's a 3D cup. Etzba'ayim is 2 fingers, me'al etzba'ayim, it's 2 fingers by 2 fingers. Berom, with the height, again, X, Y, Z axis. A 3D cup has depth, has width, and has height. So the Revi'it is 2 fingers wide, 2 fingers long, and 2.7 fingers high. Meaning etzba'ayim, v'chomesh etzba, v'chatzi etzba, v'chomesh etzba. 2.7. 2, half, and a fifth, which is 2.7. Good? That is the Revi'it.
Is that full fingers?
Very good question. No, so it's the width of your thumb.
Oh, so the width, okay.
The width of your thumb, like this. Okay?
So it's 2 widths times 2 widths times
2.7 widths and height.
Okay.
That's a Revi'it. That's the measurement of a Revi'it. Okay? How does he learn this out?
Rav, my fingers or your fingers?
Very good point. You think you're making a joke? I'm going to get there. Excellent question. Machloket. We'll talk about that. Excellent point. Talmid Chacham. You're already being mechaven the Achronim. Okay? So the Gemara, Rav Chisda, Rav Chasda explains this and derives this from the halachot of a mikveh. Very difficult calculations about how to calculate a mikveh, 40 se'ah, whatever, but to keep it simple, the Revi'it is 2 by 2 by 2.7 finger widths. Good? Now the $1 million question is, what on earth does a finger mean? What is the shi'ur? How do you measure this shi'ur? Okay? The Reif on the Gemara in Pesachim explains, Shi'ur Revi'it, what is it? Hu betza umechza. He defines as a Revi'it to be an egg and a half. 1.5 eggs in volume. Again, all of the measurements in the Torah are volume. Nefach. There's no weight besides for the something specific in the Beit HaMikdash. Everything else the Torah tells us is in volume. So the Reif categorizes as this Revi'it to be an betzah and a half. How? Because the log, again, all of the measurements are multiples of each other. You can do simple math and get all of them. So the Reif explains a log is 6 eggs, and Revi'it is a quarter. Revi'it is 1/4. Revi'it literally means a Revi'it, a quarter of a log. So if a log is 6 eggs worth, the Revi'it, which is a quarter of a log, is an egg and a half. Good? So we've established 2 by 2 by 2.7 fingers is an egg and a half. Now what on earth is an egg and a half? So the tzlach, Tzil Nefesh Chaya is the Noda B'Yehuda from Yerushalayim a couple of 100 years ago. I think it was Yerushalayim. I think so. He argues on the Reif and says, again, the Reviit is Middle Ages, the Tzlach is Achronim. But he says, that doesn't make any sense. The measurement of the Reviit gives of an egg and a half doesn't work out with the measurement of the 2 by 2 by 2.7. And he says, therefore, after he checks and he did his due diligence, the Tzlach realized and gets to the conclusion that what? That in our times, the eggs must have shrunk, must have gotten smaller, and really, what they were, smaller than what they were in the times of the Gemara, times of Chazal. How much smaller? Half smaller. Half the size. The Tzlach explains that the measurement of the Reviit is like the volume of 3 eggs, not an egg and a half. And what? And he defines, and yeah.
How do you know it got half scale?
Very good. So, like Mo alluded to, he explained a very good question. Whose finger? Whose finger are you talking about? So the Tzlach took his finger and measured, and it said it doesn't make sense. When I measure, it doesn't come out to the right size. It doesn't calculate to what the Reviit is saying. So it must be that the eggs we have are smaller than what they were in times of the Chazal, and really a Reviit is a volume of 3 eggs. Volume of 3 eggs.
What was the calculation to know that it was half?
So we have to now define the size of a thumb. Okay? We have to define the size of a thumb. The size of the thumb, according to the Tzlach, is 2.4 centimeters. How did he measure that? Because the Tzlach, Nola Yehuda, literally put his finger on the thing. I have a this gift. You guys will like this. It's a tape measure.
Tell me about this.
It's a tape measure that has in halachic measurements. The black side, the green side is the Chazon Ish. The black side is the Rav Chaim Naeh. So if you put your thumb, you'll see, oh, my thumb is like Chaim Naeh. Versus the Chazon Ish, which we'll explain momentarily. Yeah, we'll explain momentarily. We'll play with this afterward. Okay. So the Tzlach explains that each thumb we're defining the shirim of the Pesach. Okay? How much is a Reviit? How much is a Kazait? How do we get there? Just quick so you understand, the Gemara says that a Reviit is 2 by 2 by 2.7 finger width. The question is, what's a finger width? The Reviit defines a Reviit to be an egg and a half in volume, as opposed to the Tzlach. The Tzlach argues and says, when I checked my thumbs, it doesn't make any sense. Well, you gave me the calculations wrong. And therefore, it's really double. Our eggs are half the size of their eggs, and because our eggs shrunk, the measurement of a Reviit is really the volume of 3 eggs. Okay? Thank you. The measurement of our eggs, the measurement of the volume of a Reviit is really the volume of 3 eggs. Good? So the Tzlach explains how does he do the calculation. The calculation is each finger width is 2.4 centimeters. And now I can use your phone as a calculator. We calculate it. We said it's 2 by 2 by 2.7. So that means 4.8 by, oh wait, what is this? Why is it in shekel and dollar?
Does it make a difference?
All right. I just do number?
Yeah,
I got it.
3 numbers. Doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
You could just take it off.
Okay, 2.4 times 2, okay? So 4.8 centimeters is the length. Also 4.8 is the width. Now you have to do 2.7 times 2.4 to get the height, which equals 6.48. So 6.48 times 4.8 times 4.8 equals 149 and 29. So according to the Tzlach, the Reviit is 150 cubic centimeters. Because a centimeter times centimeter with the height of a centimeter, that's a cubic centimeter, which is also a milliliter. The metric system is very easy. Sorry for getting all math and science on you, but it all works out very well.
150 milliliters?
So exactly, according to the tzlach, a reviit is 150 milliliters because he measured the thumbs to be 2.4 centimeters each.
At what time was Slav?
I think 150 years ago.
Also, they were using it.
Yeah, you Google the tzlach. Tziyun nefesh chaya. When did he live? Pretty sure it was 150 years ago. They were showing. I'm pretty sure. But in the meantime, we'll continue. Okay?
He used his own fingers to determine that.
Yes.
And that's what we go off.
Well, so we're going to explain all of these things momentarily. All these are great questions. I'll get there. There's another opinion of Hagaon Rav Chaim Naeh. He was an Ashkenazi rabbi who lived in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Chaim was at his funeral and I think carried his coffin. Fun fact. He passed away in Yerushalayim 70 years ago, whatever, 60 years ago. He has a sefer called Shiurei Torah. Okay? And he says that, how do we calculate the Reviit? There's a famous Rambam, Perush HaMishnayot of the Rambam, in Masachet Eduyot, that explains he converted the Reviit to darham. What's a darham? A darham is a currency, was a coin they had in Egypt, and he converted a revi'it to 27 darham.
What's the slach? What does the slach say?
Tziyun lenefesh chaya. Tzadi yud vav nun lenefesh chaya. He's the Noda B'Yehuda. You can just say. You can also say the Noda B'Yehuda. Rav Yecheskel Landau. I think that's his name. When did he die? So good. Thank you, Mod Slach. Died before the year 1800, around 250 years ago. Chief Rabbi of Prague, Ashkenazi Gadol Ador. He has a lot of perushim on Shas. Massive Talmid Chacham. Okay. Hagon Rav Chaim Naeh. He died in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Chaim carried his coffin at his funeral. He explained that I don't want to, let's not worry about our fingers right now. Okay? The Rambam, the Perush HaMishnayot, defined for us what's the Reviit using darham. Again, this is math and halacha all together. He said each Reviit has 27 dirham or darham. Good? Now what's a darham? So the Gaon of Chaim Naeh, he explains that each darham, each coin weighed 3.2 grams. Calculator? 3.2 times 27 to get the Reviit. 86.4. Very good. The Reviit, according to Rav Chaim Naeh, based on the Rambam, is literally half, 86.4 grams of water, which is also milliliters. A gram of water is milliliter. It's a measurement of volume. Okay? So Hagan Rav Chaim Naeh, based on this, explains that a Reviit is half of that of the tzlach, and it is 86 milliliters. So a gram of water is equal to a gram of a milliliter of water. The metric system is built in a way that 1 gram of water in volume is the same as a milliliter of water. They're interchangeable. And it equals a cubic centimeter.
The weight will end up that.
So the weight, 86 grams of water, is also 86 milliliters of water. I'm saying water specifically, not other things. Good? So therefore, Halacha tells us, I'm reading Shulchan Aruch, Siman Taf Ayin Bet, Seif Tet. Shura kos. How big is the kos? Revi'it le'achar shimzegenu. It is a revi'it after it's diluted. Im rotzen lemozgo, says the Rama. Ve'ishte kulo o rubo. And you drink all of it or majority of it. Ve'im yesh bo arbe revi'ot, shotim mimenu kol adam b'nei adam kiminyan revi'ot shebo. Ve'yesh omrim shetarich lishtot rov hakos afilu machzik ham revi'ot. Maran is posek that what? The measurement of the cup is a revi'it after it's diluted. What does that mean? Because back then, they used to, their wine was very thick. It was a syrup, and they would dilute it 3 parts water, 1 part wine. Today, our wine is very diluted already. So they don't really dilute it more. If you want to dilute it and make it less sugar content or alcohol content, you may only until half. But it's talking about their wine that was very thick and was very syrupy. And a revi'it, the shiur is a revi'it. The question is, what's a revi'it? Okay? So according to the tzlach and the Gaon of Vilna, and the Chazon Ish, the Reviit is 150 milliliters of water. According to Rav Chaim Naeh, it's 86 milliliters, and according to Rav Ovadia, Rav Chaim Naeh, his calculation is every finger, every width of a thumb is 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters, because if you do the math, 4 times, do 2 times 2.7. Good. Times 4 times 4. 86. Bingo, 86.4. So we see according to Chaim Naeh, every thumb, every etzba, like the Gemara refers to, is really 2 centimeters. Okay? Rav Ovadia in Chavedat did a big discussion, and he calculated that in fact they found in the Cairo Geniza and museums in Egypt these darham coins from the time of the Rambam, and they never came out to more than 3 grams. They weighed hundreds and thousands of coins. The heaviest any coin was really 3 grams. So Ravadia recalculates it, and he does 3 times 27 is 81 grams. 81 milliliters is the Reviit. Good? So we have Rav Ovadia and Chaim Naeh, 81, 86. We have the Chazon Ish and the Ashkenazim who hold 150. La halacha, what do we do? La halacha, we hold like Rav Ovadia. We hold like Rav Chaim Naeh. The Mishnah Berurah says by mitzvot mideoraita you should be machmir and hold like the Ashkenazim. Rav Ovadia goes off and he says, no, our minhag is like the Rambam, like the Darham. Our minhag is like Chaim Naeh. And for us, the halacha, for Sfaradim, according to Rav Ovadia, according to Rabbi Chaim, we do a Reviit like Rav Chaim Naeh, which is 86, 81 grams. Again, it's indifferent between that. What's that in fluid ounces? Around 2.75, 2.9. We just say, take 3-ounce cups for your seder. The 4 cups of the seder, each cup should be 3 ounces, and you should fill each one up to the full and drink it all full cup like that. That way, la halacha, lechatchila, you achieve the opinion that says you have to drink the entire cup, and we follow our mesorah of the Reviit. Now, why did I get excited when Mo said whose thumb? Because Rabbi Chaim says the machloket could be as simple as they actually measured their own thumbs. Why do I say that? Because Rav Moshe Feinstein also has another opinion. Rav Moshe Feinstein holds that each thumb is really 2.2 centimeters. So if you do the math, Rav Moshe Feinstein comes out directly in the middle. In the Chatam Sofer, he holds each thumb is 2.5 centimeters. So his Reviit is even more than the Chazon Ish. So Rabbi Chaim says, why is there discrepancy? Because it's very simple. The Ashkenazim in Europe were a little heavier. Their thumbs were a little thicker. So when they measured their thumb, they went like this and said, oh look, it's 2.4 centimeters. The Yemenites, the Rambam, Chaim Naeh, the Sephardi Jewry, were thinner. When they measured their thumb, they said, oh wow, look, it's only 2 centimeters. And that's the discrepancy. And that's Rabbi Chaim's explanation. He gives pshat how this is such a big discrepancy. And it has to do with as simple as that they use their own fingers to measure their Reviit. Because why? The Gemara says the Reviit is 2 by 2.7 fingers. What's the finger? That's the machloket. So the halacha maaseh for the seder, for the 4 cups, we should all be mindful and careful to have cups that are 3 ounces. Why do I say daf with 3 ounces? Because if you take a cup that's 5 ounces, then you have another issue. I have to drink half the cup, but lechatchila I should drink the whole cup. So I'm going to be machmir for the Chazon Ish, and I have a 5-ounce cup, for example. Then I have to drink more to fulfill the other opinions in the Rishonim. They have to drink the entire cup. That's why we emphasize and we preach to get cups that are 3 ounces and fill those up to the top. That way you can drink the whole cup and you fulfill the chumrah of the Rishonim that say you should drink the entire cup. and you still fulfill our minhag, the mesorah of the Sephardi Jewry, to have 3-ounce cups. Good? Any questions, any concerns?
What 3 ounces is shot in half?
No. And shot is 1 ounce.
Shot is an ounce and a half.
Shot's an ounce and a half?
So it's 2 shots.
There's 2 shots. Depends on your shot cup. Some shots will say here 1 ounce. But yeah, not the plastic. No, that's too small. What I recommend is go on Amazon. And buy 3-ounce glass cups, take them to the mikveh, and have them the rest of your lives for Pesach.
Maybe Machmir go 5.
I'm not going to say yes. There's no need to. And then
Not do I need to, I said can I?
Can I be machmir and go 5 ounces of wine? You don't need to, there's no obligation. Now, just to give a halacha, yes, it's it. Just to give the halacha about what about matzah and maror. So the halacha is that it's a kezait. A kezait is, on Pesach, we treat a kezait to be half the volume of an egg. Although that's a machloket, the halacha we hold that it's half the volume of an egg. What's the volume of an egg? 54 grams. Half of that is 27 grams. What does 27 grams mean? Again, it's a measurement in volume, not in weight. In volume. So when you weigh our cracker matzot, that's incorrect because it's not a weight measurement. It's a volume measurement. So the halacha explains that when you take the volume of the matzah, the kezait is much less. So the videos on YouTube, we did it in the Rabban Chaim. We measured, we ground up matzah, we put it in a graduated cylinder. Remember that from high school? A cylinder that tells you how much it is. And we measured the kezait on volume, and on our cracker matzahs that we bring from Elite Shmura Matzah, 1 kezait in volume is around 1/4 of 1 sheet. So the halacha, you have to have 4 kezetot lechatchila. Those 4 kezetot, 1 sheet of matzah is what you need as a kezait for the duration of the seder for all 4 kezetot.
What about the
Yemenite?
Yemenite?
Much less. Each Yemenite has anywhere from 7 to 8 kezetot in one. They're in the Matzot Avotenu, the brand that Rabbi Elbaz brings from Israel. Again, depends on your brand of matzah. If the matzah is thinner or thicker, the shiur will change. So it's very important to understand your brand. Thinner matzah might be more to have a kezait. Thicker matzah might be less. So that's all important and clear and important to clarify and understand, as well as a kezait of maror, which is the lettuce. If you're gonna eat the green leafy part, 1 leaf, including the green, is a kezait. If not, you're gonna have the stalk only. You have to have 2 stalks to be a kezait. That's karpas. Karpas, you don't have a kezait because the bracha achona issue. Maror, after hamotzi already, you have to have a kezait. Go to any questions? This is a math. There's a math shiur, but in Baruch Hashem, it's the Torah Kedosha, and now we know how to properly measure our wine, how big our cups need to be. B'ezras Hashem, we'll have an amazing Chag Kasher Sameach, and do everything in the best possible way to scale up mitzvot.